Hello, Ghana. Get ready for the biggest giveaway from Syntex Tank. Oh, yeah, that's how I'm welcoming you back on a Syntex note. Syntex is visiting 15 communities, giving them free water. This is to say, thank you, Ghana, for making us the #1 brand. Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. But did you also know that Syntex tanks actually come in so many colors and was the first to come out with inner white layers? Did you know that? So if it's not Syntex, you can forget about it. Now, if you're a community and you want to benefit from the Syntex free water giveaway, just log on to their social media handles, that is at Syntex Ghana, and nominate your community. It's that easy. The more you nominate, the better the chances of Syntex coming to that community. And remember, it is Syntex, Syntex tank. It don't be any tank to be tanko. The correct tank be Syntex tank. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. But let me also tell you a bit about our Seniors a Day Out at the Aviation Social Center. As with wine, life gets better with age. Now, the Aviation Social Center did it last year, and they are going to do it again in 2024. In commemoration of the International Day of Older Persons 2024, Fifth Sense Strategies and Aviation Social Center Limited present Seniors Day Out, second edition. The date is Saturday, October the 5th, 2024, and the theme are place, for sure. The venue is the Aviation Social Center. You don't want to miss out. The times starting from 9 a.m. and concluding at 4 p.m. Activities include free health checks, self-care, wellness activities, gentle aerobics. These are senior citizens, seniors reflexology and massages, outdoor intellectual and fun games, a live band for dance lovers, buffet, and many more. Tickets are available at the front desk of the Aviation Social Center at a cool 200 Ghana cedis, with everything inclusive. And this is open to all retirees or pensioners, associations, old school groups, and senior citizens of Ghana, that is 60 years and above. So come with your parents, your grannies, your great-grannies, and your grandpas for a good time. This event is brought to you courtesy of Fifth Sense Strategies in partnership with the Aviation Social Center, Bracebridge Consult, and the Association of Ghana's Elders. Seniors Day Out is proudly sponsored by GT Bank, SNIT, VRA, Verna Mineral Water, Dragnet, and Hits 103.9 FM. You can reach out to them on 0551 464 466 or 0262 315 703. Or for further inquiries, you can go to the website www.aviationsocialcentergh.com. On Facebook, Aviation Social Center or Seniors Day Out page. And on Instagram, AV, a capital A, a small v, and Social Center. You'll find them there. But talking about social issues, let's now delve into that all-important conversation in respect of those members of the Democracy Hub who have been incarcerated, some for about a week now. I was at one of the police stations yesterday and interacted with one of them because she's a former colleague of mine. But to focus on that conversation, we've seen a recent letter to the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, asking for certain details, asking for the names, the whereabouts of some of these, because some of them have been moved about and you don't know who is where. We're going to interact with the country director of Amnesty International, Genevieve Partington, to find out what the call is really and what we can expect. And also to find out what has been gleaned so far in terms of her interactions with some of those who currently are behind bars. Genevieve, a very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you, Genevieve. It's been a while. I hope all is well.
Yes, all is well. Thank you.
All right. From where you sit as country director of Amnesty International, tell me, with what you've followed so far, I just want to know your breadth of appreciation of what you know so far. What can you say in respect of these, young people who are in both police and prison custody? What do you know as Amnesty International?
So far, according to police reports, there are 53 that have been picked up so far. At the beginning, we heard reports of the number being around 40. And since the protests happened, when the protests ended, there were still people being picked up that were not even at the protest grounds.
Right.
So then you ask, okay, why were they being picked up? There's one particular gentleman who is known as Bernard, and he was in particular.
I think you mean Benjamin Darko.
Sorry, Benjamin.
Yeah, Benjamin Darko.
Who was feeding the the those that were detained. He was the one ensuring supplies and things of the sort. And he was suddenly picked up. So these are definitely things we are concerned about. So as Amnesty International Ghana, we wrote a letter to the IGP requesting for certain information. We followed up with the response, and they say they are working on it. So we still don't have a response. And this is actually information the police should freely give out to us, being a human rights and humanitarian organization, just so that it makes it easier to reach out and check on protesters. I was also in Sawam prison. That was 2 days ago. Unfortunately, the time I got there, they were changing prison guard, and it was unlikely. I mean, they gave me certain excuses that, it would be difficult to see the 11 persons that were in custody on remand over there because they were in separate cells and this and that. It would take a lot to organize it. So unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to see them based on those reasons. I also went to East Legon Police Station. The East Legon Police are quite friendly and receptive, so I commend them for that. I went there and I was able to give, some supplies to the one person that was there. And I had a good interaction with him where he told me, how he had been shifted from different police stations. When he went to court, he was brought to East Legon Police Station. He was at a different one before that. And, the fact that they are shifting prisoners, detained protesters around is really difficult for us to follow who is where. That's one. So just based on information and just based on going around to certain police stations, and if some of them have called Democracy Hub or other organizers of the protest, that is how they are locating the whereabouts of some of the detainees. I also went to Legon Police Station, where 3 are being held, and that as well. They were okay. The police there were also very friendly. Cantonment's Police Station, previously when some volunteers went there, they went there around 8:30 p.m. and they were denied access to the protesters because they said its visiting hours are up, but we weren't coming to visit, we were coming to give food. Those are two different things.
Did you explain that to them, that you were not there on a visit,
Yes.
but you were there to give food? Because we must also salute them where they do the right thing. Yesterday I got there,
Absolutely.
I think sometime before or right after midday. I actually checked the wall. The times they have there are 6 to 8 a.m. and I think 4 after 4 p.m. or so.
Yes,
It wasn't
yes.
within that period. So I felt they may not allow me, but they were very lovely to me. They allowed me.
Which police station?
Cantonment's Police Station. They
Yeah, so
let
it
me.
depends who's on duty, right? It depends who's on duty. 'Cause
Right.
They change.
I am not
duty,
disputing
yes.
that. I'm just saying that I guess the experience may be different because they just had to take my pouch, my
Yes.
phones, and they allowed me to interact with Felicity Nelson.
But you're also a
for
media
quite a while.
personality. The volunteers are not.
I don't know whether they identified me. I don't know. I don't know whether they
Okay.
did.
So the volunteers, they are just, usual Ghanaians, and they went there. And I genuinely feel it was perhaps the police on duty at the time, because, some police stations have been given, when they realize you're asking too many questions, then they are like, okay, time to go. You need to leave. But it's very important that we check on the well-being of them. One thing I realized, some of the police stations are congested. They have one cell for several persons who have been maybe accused of a crime, waiting to go to court. They have as much as 14, 15 persons in one cell, no light. And, it's open. So you can, there's mosquitoes. It's not very great. We're afraid that we don't want people to fall sick within the 2 weeks that they are there, which is likely to happen. So, I know that the organizers continue to supply food. It's not easy because,
Right.
this is an expense that was not, programmed. I think also I could just say, yeah, so in terms of like their well-being and stuff, Amnesty is very concerned. And that is why we felt the judge, refusing bail was not the best decision. We
Right.
felt that it was quite harsh. I
Okay.
know bail is not a given, but
Indeed.
it's something that should have honestly be considered. Yeah.
So let me just walk through your statement, and then I'll also share some tidbits that I gleaned from yesterday's personal visit. And mind you, I'm not saying that everything is exactly what I may have been told, just for the sake of, because there are different accounts, but the Ghana Police Service could respond to some of these matters and clear the air. But your statement, first of all, you address it to the Inspector General of Police, and then you say request for information on arrest of protesters and other matters related to the Stop Galamsey Now protest. We are writing to request information regarding the individuals arrested in connection with the Stop Galamsey Now protest that took place from 22nd to the 23rd of September. Specifically, we seek the following details. 1, the total number of individuals arrested as of 25th September 2024. 2, the full names of all arrested persons. And 3, the locations where each person is currently stationed. And you add, as a human rights organization, Amnesty International Ghana frowns upon all forms of violence and violations of all human rights, including the rights to freedom of assembly and expression, which is enshrined in the Constitution. I'm just paraphrasing. As a matter of urgency, we call upon the leadership of the Ghana Police Service to respect the fundamental human rights of protesters. Do you think that their fundamental human rights have been impeded? And let me just share with you maybe some of what I have been told as well in respect of this. So you were mentioning Benjamin Darko, one of the conveners. The story has been, and of course the court will have to look at it and determine the veracity of that he is a leading member, a convener of, Fix the Country. He was in meetings with the police as far as organizing the demonstration was concerned, but that on the day he was not there. In fact, he was going around town doing something else, and that he has his Uber locations and all of that to prove it. That is what has been said. And I have been told, again, I'm not saying this as though it were the authority, the fact, but this is what I have been told. I'm merely sharing it, that when evidence was adduced in terms of, these are videos. You remember that the police there had cameramen, right? And some of them are seen walking about, just walking. Some of them were picked up. But that for this Benjamin Darko, there was no such video footage. And that supposedly, the claim had been that, the file had been corrupted. And so for him, there was no footage. Then you'd be asking yourself, so why is he being held? If that is indeed true, if that is actually what happened. Some of them tell me they don't have access to phones. Of course, when you are in this situation, you don't enjoy all the rights, right? But that they've not been allowed calls. And so unless someone walks in, they don't have any way of reaching out to people, which makes it difficult when you're looking for someone to find out where exactly they are. Felicity, for example, is asthmatic. She says on the day of her arrest, she had an episode. She didn't have her inhaler. The police didn't have 150 cedis to buy her an inhaler. Of course, it's not as though it is their duty immediately, but of course,
no, it's not their duty.
Exactly, but human life. So she had to be taken to hospital and she was nebulized there. All of these create concerns. Benjamin Darko supposedly went to visit Oliver Barker-Vormawor and there got apprehended. All of these are in there. These are things I've been told. Again, I'm not saying it as though it were the whole truth or the facts. This is what I have been told. Does this paint a picture of any infringement on human rights?
Well, in a way, yes, because first of all, so that is my issue with the police currently. I know they've issued statements that they have upheld, the human rights values and ensured persons get, the right treatment. However, human rights should be respected throughout the process. Okay. So the question is, did they respect the process from the get-go, from when they picked up the protesters? And this, like you said, supposedly they did not. I do not have, I can only base that on what I've been told, just like what you have been told, that, I interacted with some of those that were arrested, and they told me that at the beginning, they were not given the right to make a call, at least to one family member or to legal counsel. They prolonged them meeting legal counsel. Eventually, they did meet legal counsel because when I went to East Avon Police Station, the person there confirmed that, yes, a number of lawyers, they had access to a number of lawyers, but this was prolonged. So now the question is can you say human rights was respected if it was withheld for a certain period?
Right.
And this is what
that is,
I
if for
believe
example, consulting, having legal counsel was not granted them at the point where they should have had access to legal counsel.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And how do you get legal counsel? You have to make a phone call, because how do they know you've been arrested? So I feel those certain things were prolonged for some people. Maybe others were lucky, because again, it depends how you were picked up, where you were taken to. Maybe some were lucky they got that phone call. But I can tell you for a fact that not everyone was granted that phone call.
Right.
And normally, even writing a police statement, you shouldn't write anything until you get your legal counsel there. So, sometimes you ask yourself, is this a way to, I don't know, like just infringe on their rights and make them apprehensive or something, Also, the question of, I know for security reasons, they swap them around and I know why they've been separated, but is it the best? Because right now, we don't necessarily have a list. It took us a while. Oh, this person, like I went to Legon Station expecting certain somebody there. And when I got there, they said, oh, he's been moved. You see, and you get there. So I was like, oh, but I brought supplies for so and so person. No, he's been moved. He's no longer here. Right. I was like, do you know where he is? We don't know. And I'm like, okay, so what do I do with the supplies? So these are some of the challenges that for the volunteers are having in terms of, giving basic amenities to some of the detained protesters.
I mean, some of them have been in there for quite a while now, well over a week. There have been court processes and sometimes there are adjournments. Yesterday I heard there was a similar adjournment. One of the lawyers we spoke to at a point, I think just about a week plus ago, suggested that maybe some of them were being straightened in a certain way on the back of their actions with even the prison custody bit, and that the claims that police cells were full and so some of them had to be taken into prison custody did not wash. All of those have been said. I didn't say it. The lawyer, one of the lawyers, I think Nelson or something said that.
Yes. So currently there are 11 in prison custody. There are 11 at Insawa. And it's, fine, there's been decongestion of the cells where they keep the remand prisoners. That I'm aware. So maybe there are about 100 people on remand. So including those 11, fine. But I mean, I've heard all sorts of arguments that, oh, they didn't grant bail because of maybe flight risk. They didn't grant them bail because they were afraid that maybe they'll leave the country. I don't think those are very valid points because I believe that the lawyers did all that they can to prove and give information that the protesters will not, abscond, and they will definitely be present for all the proceedings. However, the judge ruled otherwise and decided not to give them bail. I have heard that they are considering. Now, for me, that word is very, it's a probability. I will believe it when it is done. So, I mean, we've made an appeal where I would like to, use this platform now to appeal to the Attorney General to please, please, please relook at granting them bail. I don't think we as a human rights organization, I don't think it was fair in the first place that they were not granted bail. What they committed were mere misdemeanors. And I know bail is not a given, but at least in these circumstances, because right now I feel what they have done has rather aggravated people, and people see it differently, and people see it as an infringement of human rights because basically people will be afraid to take to the streets now. It's like, okay, if I go on the streets, I'll be arrested.
Right.
And so then why should I go? So in a way, you are shrinking the civic space. Right. I mean, they will look at it from a law perspective, but I will also give the human rights perspective. And you are shrinking the civic space. Is this what we want to do in Ghana? People have the right to come out and protest, and Amnesty will support you. Today, I've seen our socials, we put up how to be safe during protests, what to do, what not to do. There's so much one can do, but when people are angry that there's bad governance, the economy is not going well, that our water bodies are being polluted, what do you expect? People will take to the streets.
Okay.
But how you handle it is very important. And I personally feel it is not being handled correctly at the moment.
I will get to what the AG has been saying in recent times, and the Chief Justice as well. Some of the charges, the rap sheet, some of them say that the things they've been charged for, they look at some of them and they were not even there. For example, Felicity tells me that this vandalizing of billboards or party paraphernalia, and of course, I think it is condemnable. It's in the public space. You can't go and do that. But she was not even there at the time. The first two charges, for example, she wasn't there. She said she was just walking with them, and she was also bundled in. So that could be a concern, and that is a concern. Yes. But in recent times, the AG, the Attorney General, has been speaking at the annual general meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges Ghana. And he had this to say about the protester situation. He said that the state would prosecute acts of protesters which threatened essential services, infringed on the right to free movement, or attacked the safety of security forces this election year. We do know that they blocked some roads. They were playing football at a point and disrupted the free flow of traffic, which led, for example, the Sunday after that, when I was trying to head to church, it was pretty hectic because then the police had mounted barricades on the back of that. So you had to go and use a long, winding route. So not exactly convenient for the public. That's point one. He explained that such acts could endanger the entire society as they had the tendency to destroy the peace of the nation. He says there were attempts by some people to create tension ahead of the elections and instill fear into people through demonstrations, which in some cases were what he described as a ruse for mounting an attack on the security forces. So he mentions all of this, but he also says he is advising the prosecution to consider relevant bail applications made at the next adjourned dates of the case. Today is Thursday. I don't know when next, because I know yesterday there was supposed to be some court situation, and then there was another adjournment. I don't know when next, because then that means if it doesn't happen between today and tomorrow, that means they're going to spend another weekend in there and start a fresh week. And we know these operations don't happen. The courts don't operate over the weekend, technically, by and large. The Chief Justice also made mention, I'm sure she was speaking generally, that in some instances the delays in the adjudication of cases were caused by prosecutors. And oftentimes you would have the police, in that space. I don't know what you make of it because, again, some are thinking that, it's just to show them force, show them power. So sometimes something that must be done, a little thing will not be done, and the court will have to, go through the processes, call for an adjournment, and then it goes on, on and on. What do you make of that?
Yeah. So I believe, yes, we are in an election year, and we already knew, Amnesty International, we knew that there were going to be a number of protests this year. That's why we launched our campaign on Protect the Protest earlier this year, because we knew that there are going to be several protests because of the current state of the nation. So with that, you can't, it's inevitable. The protests will happen. So it's a bit unfortunate that maybe people will see it as, a way of disrupting, public order and the sort, because at the end of the day, there has to be a way for people to rant and show their frustration in a productive way. And if it means walking, taking to the streets in a peaceful manner, then it should be done. I know next week there's also going to be a strike. Protests can be in different forms. Sometimes protests are on social media. Sometimes they are physical. People walk. There's nothing wrong playing football at a protest. It actually, calms tempers down.
No, but they were impeding the free flow of traffic. That is not right.
Okay. So based on that, even that the routes, we knew that the routes were blocked. And even I used a longer route, but it was fine. Because at the end of the day, protests are there to make certain people, and especially governments, uncomfortable so that they can do something and change the situation. That's what protests are for. They're not meant to be comfortable. Okay. Yes, it's impeded traffic. Other protests have done the same, that you have blocked roads. Presidents' visits, government officials' visits, roads are blocked. Why doesn't anyone complain about that? Because so many roads are blocked, they give even more traffic than what happened previously.
But
it happens.
But in those instances, it is sanctioned by, and when I say sanction, I'm careful because the police does not allow people to go and demonstrate. They don't have that power. What they do is they give guidance. So then they've told you this is the route, and then they will guide you on that route. So whatever traffic situation is created, they are handling that situation. But
Definitely.
when of your own accord, you create that without their help to streamline matters, then these are some of the problems. I keep saying that I am all for demonstrations. I am all for the freedom of expression and all of that. But you must also operate within certain parameters. I don't think the way this matter is being handled is right. But I also feel that there are some actions that could have been avoided, which have, culminated in this situation.
So definitely I agree with you on that. Definitely there are actions that we could have done differently. And I feel, the protest didn't go well. The organizers didn't stick to the route that was proposed. They decided to go their own route. Okay, so handle it, but don't make it look like a form of punishment. Because right now, in the public's eye, a lot of people are seeing this as we are going to punish you and put you in cells and not grant you bail. So this is an issue. And it would be great for the judge to reconsider the bill in that aspect.
I have seen a post, and I'll just look for it, by Justice Remsai. I know that he's one of those who have showed interest in this case. Felicity mentioned his name yesterday, together with a cohort of other lawyers, and he was saluting. I'll look for that post. He was saluting young lawyers taking up, the cause to represent for free some of these.
It's amazing.
People.
Trust me, I hear
and that is
there
to be
are
saluted.
about 25 lawyers. Yes, it's very admirable. There were about 20, 25 lawyers or more at the court. I hear a lot of them are young lawyers, and they are seriously following this case because they do feel there have been, okay, let them face the court for misdemeanors. That's fine. But how you treat them in the process is very, very important. It's like catching, any criminal, for example, any person that has committed a misdemeanor, they are innocent until proven guilty. Just
Right.
like you interacted with Felicity, she's being charged for something and she says she wasn't there. So all the evidence and facts need to be presented on the ground
Right.
before we can actually see whether somebody is guilty or not. Because like you just said, we are hearing different stories. The police say something, the protesters say another
Which is
thing.
why we need
Who
the
do you
Ghana
believe?
Police Service to come clean and let us know what exactly
Exactly.
is and what isn't.
Yes. And that is why we are still waiting, because I still believe that it's still important as we speak to have that list. And it shows us some form of transparency that, okay, we are a trusted partner, we'll give you the list so that you are able to access these people and give them supplies. I meet, like, I have conversations a lot with the organizers. I also have conversations with the police. And, we are just trying our best to engage with both sides because it's very important. And through that, I would really, really be hopeful and expect that they respond to our letter because it's very important that we actually have a proper list. Right now, we are just working with something based on the lawyers, what the lawyers have given, what the volunteers have given. But it's not a comprehensive list. I have first names of people. I don't have full names. I don't know. It's
How do you
really
think that reflects on the Ghana Police Service? And again, I am saying that I respect them a lot, the service, and how they have acted.
and so do
For
we.
example, yesterday I was impressed with how they granted me access, no fuss, no. In fact, they actually were
Yes.
very generous with the time. I thought maybe they would give me just maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes. They allowed me to stand there, if I'm not mistaken, for about
Yeah.
10 minutes or a little more
Yeah.
interacting with Felicity. They didn't, you know, hamper my interaction with her in any way. Of
Yes.
course, I was just not allowed to touch or anything.
Yes.
But they
Yes.
allowed me access. And when it was time,
And
they just
yeah.
calmly told me, "Oh, it is time you." And I complied, and I had gleaned all the
Yeah.
information I needed. But
Yeah.
with some of these extensions and everything else that is happening, the fact that in some cases you don't even know the full names of the people, how will family trace them, they keep being moved around, it leaves a lot to be desired, doesn't it?
Yes. So yes, so I side with you on that. I mean, like I said, I went to certain police stations. I didn't have any problem at all. I just introduced myself. I'm Genevieve. I would like to see the protesters. Is that okay? And they were very, very friendly. So that one I'll commend. And some of them, even the protesters being held, they said, oh, like they are being treated well by the police. But again, like I said, it depends who's on duty. It depends who you meet. But so far, for me, my interactions, they've been fine. However, it's not really about where they are being held, right? It was when they were arrested. What happened when they were arrested? It's not really about the police stations. It's about the cell they are being kept at. It's not great. I mean, having this congestion of 14, 15 people in one cell is not great. That we can't blame the police for, but we have to blame the system for not having, larger cells. So the problem is bigger than we see it to be. This is something that has been an eye opener for all of us that yeah, our police stations are not really the best in terms of the cell space, in terms of facilities. They just don't have it. Some of them, I mean, Islegon, like I said, it was privately renovated. So, I mean, the bathrooms and toilets are fine. Anyone can use them because they are neat, clean. But you go to other police stations, Nima and things, and the situation is really bad, hygiene-wise, and then you have women being held there who can easily catch certain infections very, very easily. So, like I said, the police, honestly, some of the police stations we've been to, very friendly, very lovely, but it is not them we have a problem with. It is the system. And just to end, the Public Order Act, that is why Amnesty International is pushing for a review of the Public Order Act. At the moment, we are now just having consultations. But once we put something down on paper, we would like to have a proper discussion with Ministry of Interior and the Attorney General's office to really relook at the act, because there are so many loopholes in it that give too much power to security forces. And this is something that we have to look at. And once that is reviewed, I feel like it will definitely have an effect on the way protests are carried out in Ghana.
All right. In just about a minute, we're capping off the conversation. I just want you to summarize for me. One, you've already started talking about what next, but that looks like the medium to long-term future. In the short term,
yes.
What does Amnesty International want to see? What are the next moves? And there's also this talk on the street that the way we are handling these protesters who are protesting an illegality that is killing all of us, if we were to tackle Galamsey itself with that same ferocity, with that same energy, maybe we wouldn't be here. What is your reaction to these two in 1 minute and we're gone?
Yes. So for me, I think that is absolutely right. I feel the same way. We are pushing our anger on the wrong people. They came out simply to protest, fine, but according to some people, they didn't do it the right way. They didn't respect the route. That is most of the time how protests go. And yes, the formed police unit, I hear they did a good job managing the protest. I wasn't there. I cannot confirm. But the whole point is, why aren't we fighting the real criminals? Why are we putting all our efforts, our taxes, our public funds into trying persons who simply came out to the streets to tell the government that this problem is a big problem and we need to deal with it? So on that note, I would appeal again to the Attorney General's office to please reconsider the bail. They should be granted bail immediately, and also so that they can come home to their families, and then we can follow the court case from there. Also, really looking at the evidence put forward. Like you just said, some people are genuinely innocent and they need to have fair trials, fair justice given out to them. And let's rather focus on the issues at hand, that our water bodies are being polluted and something drastic needs to be done about it. If it means that illegal mining or small-scale mining will be put off for a year just for our water bodies to heal, so be it. But government needs to come out and say something, and say something now. Thank you.
Genevieve, just indulge me a little further. I want to bring in Dr. Theo Champong. I'm sure he may have comments you may want to react to, and then after that, you can take leave of us, if that sits well with you.
I wasn't expecting this, but fine.
I don't think it's going to be anything you will find, you will be averse to, trust me. Dr. Theo Champong is a political risk analyst. He joins the conversation. We'll be delving into other issues, but Dr. Theo Champong, I want to start with you on this Democracy Hub protest, how things have turned out. Our brothers and sisters still in the cooler and no way forward with the court process. Amnesty International says they must be granted bail now. Quick reactions, and then I'll conclude with Genevieve.
No, good morning. Pleasure to be here. I think, Genevieve is absolutely right. I mean, people have a right to protest. Of course, that's got to be done within the remit of the law. I'm no lawyer, but certainly there are processes for granting bail, and to the extent that that probably has not been followed, and these people have been in cells for several days now. I believe that does not send the right signal. And if you look at the conditions in some of these prisons and jails, I mean it's preposterous, to be very honest. And I think the point that was being made is those conditions have been there for as long as one can remember, and to that extent, it's a systems problem. But fundamentally, the point remains that those that have been arrested deserve, a fair trial, so to say. And that process has to commence or with the process of them being granted bail following all the right legal processes. And sometimes I feel, what the way our security services behave, we say they want to show people where power lies, right? So they use all these antics and all these shenanigans to try and, just, send a sense of fear among these people that are protesting. And that I don't think really is something that we should countenance in our democracy.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Theo Champong. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Genevieve Partington? If not, we'll part with you.
No, I'm great. And thank you, Dr. Theo, for those points. Like he said, the way things are going is not really the way we expect them to go in a democracy such as Ghana, and where we say we uphold human rights. So something needs to be done, but it needs to be done now. I believe the more we prolong justice, the more we prolong not granting them bail, I believe is absolutely wrong on the government's part. Thank you.
Genevieve, thank you so much for your time with us this morning. We wish you the very best of the day. That is Genevieve Partington, Country Director, Amnesty International, Ghana. Well, do stay with us. When we return from the break, Dr. Theo Champong is staying with us, and we're going to discourse on the economy. Now, we do know that the inflationary rate has hit 21.5% from about 20.04% the last time. What explains this spike, this upward trend, and what does it bode for our economy? We'll be discussing that right after the break.